Good morning, everyone. I'm Len Cannon along with Deborah Duncan. Thank you for joining us for our KHU 11 Plus streaming coverage as we honor the life of Congressman, Mayor, and State Representative Sylvester Turner. We're standing right here in front of City Hall, where Sylvester Turner was mayor for 8 years, a man you knew for almost 40 years.
Yeah, in fact, I met him first in 1989, and more on that later. But you know, one of the last times that I was around him during a big city celebration was when he did the mayor's tree lighting. We would do that year after year after year
Yes.
for 8 years, right over here. But you know, you mentioned state representative, mayor, congressman. Obviously, this is a human being who had a servant's heart, and so many people have posted all kinds of things that he did for them. You know, on social media, the minute that news broke that he had passed away, you saw so many people posting just these little moments and encounters that they had with him. And as you know, you and I both knew him at so many other events that we would go to. He would take the time to look someone in the eye, shake their hand, and learn a little bit about them. Many of those people are starting to line up here this morning for the opportunity to say to him, you know, their final goodbyes.
Yes, one of Houston's favorite sons. Now let's set the stage for you on what's going to happen here this morning. At about 9 o'clock, color guard for both Houston Police and Fire, they will come out along with Houston Mayor John Whitmire. Mayor Whitmire will give a brief speech and address. Then color guard will lead dignitaries and the mayor back inside City Hall to begin the line in state, and when the public will then be able to go in, sign a card, guest card book when they go in, view the casket, and walk out on the other side. And we do also hope to talk to some of the folks who come and visit this morning. Again, today's line in state lasts from 9 a.m. till 7 p.m. this evening.
Yeah, and that process got started a lot earlier this morning. Obviously, as you know, he passed away in Washington, D.C., so it was a process of getting him here and figuring out how we would honor him. So earlier this morning, Igochi was there, and she was around when he actually left the funeral home and made his way to City Hall. You know, he grew up in Acres Home, as we always talk about. He still stayed there in Acres Home.
Built a home there.
Yeah, built a home there, but his other home was definitely City Hall, and that's where he is right now. But that was a process to get him here so that people could pay their final respects.
It has been quite a journey just to this point in terms of his career. We're going to get into all of that, but first, let's go to Jason Miles. He's on the other side of City Hall on Bagby Street, where he'll be talking to people as they leave City Hall this morning after paying their respects. Jason?
Hey there, guys. Yeah, I'm on the Bagby side of City Hall, the official address, if you will, but where you are is kind of the ceremonial front side of City Hall where the reflection pool is. So once people get to pay their respects to the former mayor and most recently congressman, they'll come out this entrance. So basically they'll enter from the side where you are and exit here on the Bagby side. And we look forward to speaking with folks about what they had to say to Mayor Turner, any thoughts they have. And actually the photographer I'm working with today, Mars Juarez, was here very early and actually interviewed a woman who was the very first in line. She was already in line, wanted to be the first inside the doors today. Her name is Ms. Toyota. She is active in the Asia Town community and was appointed to a board or two by the former Mayor Turner, and first met him, she told us, at some sort of political rally, a presidential political rally, I believe she said, years ago. And Mayor Turner was actually running for his first term in office and introducing himself as Sylvester Turner. Obviously, many people were familiar with him given his service in the state legislature, but she talked about how he always showed up to events, no matter how big, how small, but was always active in various communities, and that's what she will remember most about Mayor Turner, who she considered not only a public servant, someone who represented her, but a personal friend. And again, she was the first in line. Perhaps we'll see her when she exits here and get her thoughts as well. Guys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear what some folks have to say and get their thoughts after going through the rotunda here this morning. Jason, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the background of Mayor Sylvester Turner, proud graduate of Klein High School, graduated #1 in his class.
Was part of the debate team.
Part of the debate team. Yeah. Proud Cougar, went to U of H, then went to Harvard Law School. But I bet you never hear a Harvard-trained lawyer talk about the neighborhood he grew up in the way Sylvester Turner did. He referred to Acres Homes as the not fofo, the fofo.
The fofo.
You got to get the vernacular right.
I remember talking to him and he said, it was back in the day where if you did something wrong at the top of the street, somebody's mama would come out and talk to you and say, what did you do, and set you right. Then the next mama would set you right, and all the way down to it got to your house, and he goes, and your own mama will really set you right. And he said, go back to that phrase, if it takes a village. It was a village, and they were all raising each other. I mentioned the debate team. He talks about fondly, he talked about educators and how educators play such a great role in pointing kids in the direction they can go. And it was a teacher who looked at him and said, you're a great orator. You would be a great debater. And he took that with him, not only into the political life, but he also took that with him to law school and moot court.
So he referred to Acres Homes as the fofo.
Yeah.
He refers to 5th Ward as the nickel. He referred to 3rd Ward
The tray.
as the tray. And people who live in those historically black neighborhoods, they embraced him for that acknowledgement and recognition because he did it everywhere he went. Here we are in front of City Hall, about to honor Mayor Sylvester Turner. He died 1 week ago today in Washington, D.C. I spoke with him just weeks before he left office. This would have been November of 2023. Listen to how he talks about leaving office begrudgingly. Watch. Soon you will no longer walk into this building as mayor.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss it. We're gonna walk out slowly.
In November of 2023, Sylvester Turner was about to exit a life in politics after 8 years as mayor and 24 years as a state representative. It was a career of highs and lows. He lost his first run for mayor in 1991, lost again in 2003, finally winning on his 3rd try in 2015.
Let me just start off by saying, well, how sweet it is.
He had come a long way from his roots in Acres Homes. One of 9 children, his mother was a maid at the Rice Hotel, his father a commercial painter who died when Turner was 13. He showed promise early as senior class president at Klein High School and valedictorian. Then it was on to the University of Houston and Harvard Law School. After practicing law, he was elected to the Texas House of Representatives in 1988. Fast forward to the summer of 2024 and the sudden passing of Turner's close friend, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. Her death changed his mind about sitting on the sidelines. He would run for her congressional seat.
Only the passing of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee at this critical time
Would get you in.
would get me in.
Then I asked about his own bout with cancer in 2022.
Are you healthy enough to run for Congress?
Well, number one, I would not be running if I were not healthy.
Are you healthy enough?
And I am healthy enough. And being diagnosed with cancer doesn't mean you stop serving. It doesn't mean you stop living. It doesn't mean that you no longer have any work to do.
He often reflected on his rise from humble beginnings to become mayor of the 4th largest city, calling it a testament to what is possible in the city.
Lynn, last night I went over a number of my text messages with Sylvester Turner, and it was heartwarming. When he decided that, he was term limited, right? He was trying to decide what he's going to do next. I asked him, what are you going to do next? He goes, I don't know. It's a new season. I just want to enjoy the new season. He actually pretended to retire for a few minutes, and he would watch Great Day Houston, and I'm looking at some of his text messages. He's like, did you ever consider having this chef on the show or having this person on the show?
He had suggestions.
Yeah, he had suggestions for me.
He turned into a booking agent for Great Day, is what happened.
When he retired for about 24 hours.
Oh
But
my
then,
gosh.
as we all know, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee had asked him to fill that position.
Yeah, before
and
she
he
died.
was, before she died, and he was back at it again.
Yeah, quite a set of developments as I've been talking about. Now let's go to Gochi Iloka. If you can see behind me, you can see now a list of dignitaries standing right behind us, lining up, waiting for the mayor to come out. He's going to speak at 9 o'clock. And then you have a line of people. That line is getting a little bit longer of the public that will be going in. We'll get to all that in a few minutes. But first, here's Gochi Iloka, who's also here in front of City Hall.
Starting in about 15 minutes, anyone who wants to say goodbye to the late Congressman Sylvester Turner can do so here at Houston City Hall. But first, Mayor Whitmire will say a few words. If you take a look, this is new video of Turner's body being taken into Houston City Hall's rotunda less than 3 hours ago where he's lying in state until 7 p.m. tonight. Then from noon Thursday to noon Friday, Turner's body will lie in honor at the Texas State Capitol Rotunda in Austin. Then finally, Turner's body will be moved back to his hometown of Houston for his funeral service Saturday from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Church Without Walls on Queenston Boulevard. The family says the burial will be private. Now, in lieu of flowers, the family is asking that people consider making donations to the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center in his name or in a charity of their choice. Now, coming up in my next report, we'll hope to hear from people in the line waiting to say their final farewell to the beloved former Houston mayor. Reporting at Houston City Hall, Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
And there's a growing presence behind us of folks who are waiting to get inside City Hall to pay their final respects to Sylvester Turner, dignitaries, many city council members, the mayor, obviously, who's going to be speaking here in just about 4 or 5 minutes if everything is on schedule.
Yeah, you know, every time he spoke to Sylvester Turner, he would leave you with like a little nugget for life, right? And I remember him saying, I said, you know, this is a tough job going into Congress. This is a tough schedule. You really want to do this? And he said, you know, I'm going to go back to what Miss Ruby told me years ago. And she said, if you still have gas in your tank, you got to drive your car.
Oh my
keep
gosh.
driving your car, and you keep driving your car until you no longer have gas in that tank. And I got to say, this may sound a little strange to some people, but he was able to hear what people would say at his funeral before he passed away. Because every time he had an encounter with someone, they would say to him, thank you for. I mentioned earlier how you and I would go to several charity events and the line would form of people who just wanted to say to him, thank you. It's something he did that impacted their life. And so there's a blessing there that you got to hear what people have to say. You got your flowers before you actually passed away. So many of us don't get that.
Exactly. You were talking, Deborah, about all the events that you saw him over the years, 30, 40 years almost. I saw over the last 20 years. We got tons of pictures showing that, whether it was at the Astros games during their playoff runs into the World Series, whether it was at a
Thanksgiving
luncheon.
Day parade.
Thanksgiving Day parade, which you do every year, and also the mayor's tree lighting, which you did every year that he was mayor. So we had all these events.
And by the way, am I the only one who
breakfast.
thought that he could be in more than one places at once?
You know, actually, I thought that of him and Sheila Jackson.
Yeah, I think both of them had that gift.
I actually made a joke about that, and Sheila didn't laugh, but I said, I think there's more than one of you, and I think it's the same. Sylvester Turner was like that. We are awaiting the arrival of Mayor John Whitmire, who's going to come out along with the Houston Police and Fire Color Guard, and then he'll make some brief remarks, and then the Color Guard will lead the dignitaries back inside. Let's listen. Mayor John Whitmire about to speak.
Yeah.
Waiting on him to speak. He's got a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the line continues to grow. When we first got here this morning, we saw a few people, and every time we turn around and look, there's even more people who have gotten into the line before they can go in.
I think the mayor's waiting until the color guard gets settled here. That's police and fire color guard. Once they get situated, and the mayor will give a brief remark, and then color guard will lead everybody back inside. And the public viewing begins at 9, lasts till 7 o'clock.
You see current city employees and
Here we go.
also past ones.
Mayor John Whitmire.
Let me thank everyone that is present this morning. The Lord has blessed us with beautiful weather. As we come together to celebrate the life and legacy of State Representative Sylvester Turner, Mayor Sylvester Turner, and Congressman Sylvester Turner. He certainly has served in public office to all of our benefit. And you know, I put a real premium on public service. And I've witnessed Sylvester's public service, certainly 24 years that he was in the Texas House. I was the senator from the same community. We worked together on criminal justice reform. He had a real passion for juvenile justice. And when I had a problem, I knew where to go. We worked together on the budget to bring state finances back across his state rep seat and the 18th congressional seat, and certainly Acres Home, Pleasantville, Independent Heights, you name it. I witnessed it firsthand. And what was special about Sylvester, he had that can-do attitude that so many of us present have. He would work with anyone for the benefit of his community. I witnessed him becoming the Speaker pro tem for Tom Craddock, one of the most conservative right-wing Republicans, because Sylvester knew it mattered. He also understood, and I learned from him, that we can disagree without being disagreeable on behalf of our community. So we're sad, but let's celebrate. Let's celebrate his life and his public service. We could spend the morning, and I look forward to visiting with so many of you, our relationship, so many special. So in respect for Sylvester Turner and his public service, as we stand on the steps of city government, it's symbolic that I'm speaking for Houstonians across our great city, our diversity. Sylvester knew each and every community, and he treated everyone with equality and inclusion. That's what made him really special. He brought that public service and that message across not only our great city, but our great state. I've watched him firsthand on the House floor. And if you don't think Sylvester Turner didn't make us all better public servants and speakers, you ought to have to follow Sylvester, which many of you have. He probably was the best orator that I've had to follow. And quite frankly, as a 22-year-old, Rodney, I had to follow Barbara Jordan, then Mickey Leland, Craig Washington. But Sylvester would make all of us rise to the occasion, because no one spoke with more passion and conviction than State Representative, Mayor, and Congressman Sylvester Turner. So out of respect for him and appreciation, let's all of us leave here and go to work. Thank y'all for your attention.
All right, Mayor John Whitmire is speaking to Sylvester Turner's commitment to criminal justice, but there's something else he was really passionate about. Several years ago, we went to brunch, and we always know where somebody is, and sometimes we don't know how they got there. I wanted to go deeper into how he got there. And I said, Sylvester, tell me, why would a Harvard-educated attorney decide that they would go into politics, a thankless job, right, where you make a whole lot less money and it comes with a great deal of criticism, as opposed to stay where you were? He came out and was one of the partners of one of the largest law firms in the country.
He was a partner in a law firm, Fulbright and Jaworski.
Then he left and went to a smaller firm.
And started his own firm.
Yeah,
right.
Because he wanted to address certain other things. But he said he went back to remembering one day he got home from school and his mom said, "Come with me." And they had to get on the bus and they had to go down to the hospital, the city hospital, because a family loved one was being discharged. And when he got there, he said, "It was clear to me that this person should not have been discharged. They were battling mental illness, but there was no place else for him to go. He couldn't stay at the hospital, but his mom didn't have the capacity to take care of him either." And he said, there must be something we can do about mental health. And it is one of the things that he did when he was a state representative. He got millions of dollars that came to Houston to deal with mental illness. But he looked at me and he said, "And how far have we really gotten? It's much more complex than I thought it was ever going to be." But in his breath, he said, I will die still trying.
Yeah.
Because of what happened to one of his family members.
You heard Mayor John Whitmire calling Sylvester Turner working with a can-do attitude, and they have a long history. They were in the state legislature for 20 plus years, almost 30 years together, one as a representative, Whitmire as a state senator, and so they have a lot of history, and they know each other very well, and so I'm sure Whitmire understands the legacy as well as anyone.
Yeah, you know, you talk about it was 1989. You said when I first met him, I was starting my career in TV, and Sylvester Turner was starting his career as a state representative, and I was going there to cover a story. And if you've ever been to the state legislature during session, it is crazy. And so I ran up to the top of the stairs. I was out of breath. I'm sure I was dazed and confused. And he turned and looked at me, and he was with Ron Kirk, who at one point became the mayor of Dallas. But he looked at me and goes, "Young lady, do you need some help?" And I'm like, "Clearly I do." And he said to me, okay, so I was trying to cover a bill, and he said to me, listen, this is the person who proposed it, but I suggest you also talk to the person who opposes it. And somewhere you will meet in the middle for your viewers to make up their own mind.
He spoke proudly one of the interviews I had with him, and I did several extended interviews about reaching across the aisle in state legislature. Let's give you a sense of his background, his history in terms of a politician. Deb mentioned he was a lawyer. He first ran for office in 1984 for Harris County Precinct 1 County Commissioner. He lost. Okay, then a few years later, he won the state rep job. He was elected to the State House of Representatives. And then in 1991, he ran for mayor for the very first time. He lost. He ran again in 2003. He lost. It wasn't until 2015 that he won, and then he finally got the job that he desperately wanted. Let's go to Gochi Iloka now. She's been talking to some folks who are, I believe, just now leaving City Hall. Gochi?
All right.
Okay.
Well, back to what you were saying earlier. You talk about the lesson of never, never give up. And he said, if it's worth it, you never give up. And you know, he went through a lot to get to those offices, but he knew that he had something to do.
Yeah. He there's something else he told me which I did not know. Okay, is Gochi ready?
You'll just look
All
at
right,
me. When
let's go to Gochi Iloka, who's also here at City Hall. Gochi, go ahead.
Yeah, Len and Deborah, we are here with people waiting in line, waiting to say goodbye as they're waiting to get inside the Houston City Hall Rotunda where Mayor Turner's body is lying in state right now. Who are we with today? Can I get your first name?
Cheryl.
Cheryl and
Deetra.
Kathy. Okay, and I see you guys are with the fleet management of City here. So can you tell us a little bit about why you came out this morning? I saw you all really early to wait to pay your respects to the mayor.
Yeah. I wanted to pay my respects because as a native Houstonian and also grew up in Third Ward, it was always a delight to see someone of our color to grow and excel in the higher levels of politics. Sylvester always represented Houston very well, eloquently and efficiently.
Talk about humble beginnings too, right?
Absolutely, and it's a great loss for the city and for the state.
And it came as a shock to so many people. What about you?
So honestly, in working with Sylvester in passing as a city employee, his kindness stretched across the board. He brought life to the city. And that's something that we all should appreciate, the life that he brought to the city and also within our families that provided the life. So I appreciate Sylvester for that so much.
Yeah, you know, Mayor Whitmire talked about how he treated everyone equally, how he would work with anyone to really make the city better. Is it something that you got that feeling from when you saw him in action?
Yes, absolutely. The joy that he brought to the city. So it brings us all joy, like the rodeo, like he was in the parade. So, you know, he's the definition of living life to the fullest, all the way to the end.
That's right. And you all are here supporting. Can you tell us a little bit about, well, I see you kind of getting emotional. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, it's mostly like seeing him in the neighborhood, always interacting with the people and how friendly he was and working for him. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. We're all feeling it today.
It was a complete shock. I mean, I was at home when I saw it. My greatest memory of Sylvester is him on the dance floor. He loved to dance, and it was always a great joy to see him dance and to get out there and dance with them.
Right. You know, I'm kind of getting emotional here with you too, because I remember dancing with him at certain balls that he hosted, certain events he had me host. I mean, the man knew how to cut a rug, but more than anything, he made you feel welcomed. Can you tell us a little bit about just how this is a big loss for the city? Others feel it too. They're emotional today as well. Just how it could be a void now that he's gone. And of course, he was serving as congressman, but he was Houston's, you know?
He was definitely Houston. Missing him already, and just to go on with life and see photos of him or hear people talk about him, especially our elders, because they were with him for day one. They with him when he was in Congress and he became a mayor, then he went to U.S. representative. So it's an unbelievable void. And I know that I feel the emotion from our current mayor, and I see how the love from everyone that's out here who supported Sylvester Turner until the end.
That's right. Thank you all for sharing just your moments and your thoughts about Turner. And I know you all have to get inside, so we'll let you do it. Thank you so much. Well, Len and Deborah, you heard it there. There are a lot of people who just are here and emotional, ready to pay their respects. And I don't know if you could hear this last one I talked to, who was actually, she was in tears because she just remembers how caring the former mayor was and how he just made everyone feel like they belong. So we'll send it back to you all. But yeah, those are a few testimonies here this morning.
Yeah, thank you, Agochi. And, you know, that one woman said that he brought the city life, and he did. And, of course, we all had that picture in our mind of him dancing. I think all of us, I think he was a dance partner for all of us. And I was,
did Agochi say cut the rug? Is that what she said?
Cut the rug. She's using those old folk terms. Cut the rug. And I'm looking through, you know, his old Instagram post.
Your treasure trove of pictures is really something.
You know, and we have lots of videos of those dances, and he enjoyed it. He was on that dance floor with everyone, and he truly enjoyed being with people in those like lighter times, but as we know, he also got us through some of the tougher times, which we'll touch on in just a little bit.
Yes, he did. 7 federally declared disasters while he was mayor of Houston. Let's go to Jason Miles right now, who's talking to a city council member, I believe. Jason?
That's right, guys. We're standing on the Bagby Street side of City Hall between the old City Hall, if you will, and the City Hall Annex, where all the council members have their offices. And Letitia Plummer, a council person here who served the entirety of Mayor Turner's second term, and you are among those current city council members. And I see just near us some former city council members. I see a former department head and others paying your respects this morning.
Yeah, this is definitely a solemn day. And I will say, as a freshman member of council, being able to serve on his second term, having him be a mentor and someone that challenged our way of thinking, watching how he orates, just his passion for community. I can't imagine being able to learn from the best. And it was just an honor to serve with him.
Do you recall the first time meeting him? Was it before your council days, I assume?
Yeah, actually, my father and him were good friends, so I've always known about Mayor, Representative, Congressman Turner my entire life, as I kind of knew of him. Didn't know him well, but I knew he was just a giant in politics, in the political space, and just always served our community.
And I know it's hard to capsulize or summarize a political career like that, but how would you try to do that?
Passion. And he always said it was passion to me too. Like, I think he recognized, I mean, he just has and I speak in the present tense because I know that his spirit is still with us. He just had a way of connecting with people, gaining their trust, and really keeping his word. And I think those are 3 things I would learn from him as I, continue to serve the city of Houston. But he genuinely cared about what happened with us, and it was sincere.
I don't know if you ever attended community events, street parties. He always seemed to shine during those types of events.
Oh yeah. He could do the Harlem Shuffle better than anyone else, and he was always playing an instrument or singing or dancing. He was you never thought of him on this like high pedestal. You just kind of knew he was in the community, and he would always make you feel like he was approachable and touchable. And I think that's really important, especially for the communities that he served as a representative and definitely as a congressman.
I know it was a week ago today when many people learned of his passing. It was after the address to Congress. I guess it was the next morning during the council meeting when it kind of started to shudder throughout the city offices. What was your first reaction?
I heard about it about 7 o'clock that morning, and I didn't think it was true. And so I think once we really sat on that dais and heard everyone talking, I think it maybe really became a reality for us. It's just so soon after the passing of the congresswoman that it's just, I think for us, seeing our leaders not be here with us as a woman of color, I think that's really the hard part, because they're our mentors, like they're the ones that we follow, and not having them here with us is just a bit challenging.
And I recall someone mentioning last week that you guys took a break for about an hour after the mayor announced his passing, but then got back to business. Is that what he would have wanted?
That's exactly what he would have wanted. He wouldn't have wanted anything different than that. And he expects us to continue to lead and continue to be responsible, and that's exactly what we're all doing.
And what do you think about the turnout? Obviously, there's a line growing in the front, and many current and former city officials got a chance to go in, I guess, first. What do you think? And you were mentioning the weather.
Yes, I know. I'm telling you, God. And you know, whenever he would speak, he sounded like a pastor. I mean, he would get on that microphone, right? And he would just, even if you didn't agree with him, you would agree with him when he was done, because he was so good. So this is God's grace, right? This is the sun and the Christmas of the air. And I'm not surprised. I mean, everyone loved him. I mean, everyone's back. People that are not here with us right now are all back, giving their condolences and their love to their family, to his family. And Ashley's a doll and grandbaby and all that good stuff.
Council Member Plummer, I appreciate your time. Thanks for stepping over and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks
Guys, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you,
Miles,
Jason.
Thank you very much.
We're
Deborah and
with
I are joined by, you make the introduction.
Freddie Chappell-Wright, who is Sylvester Turner's cousin. So your mother and his mother are sisters. Now, we remember what Sylvester told us what he was like as a child. Now you tell us what he was like as a child.
I don't know what he told you, but he was very intelligent. I lived in the country of Chapel Hill, Texas. They lived in Houston, and their dad, Eddie Turner, would put all of them in the car, and they would come to the country, and we just played in the dirt, ran around the farm, and just had a glorious time.
That sounds like so much fun.
It was so much fun.
And so, what are your recollections of him as he got older?
Well, he was very a precocious child, always intelligent. He knew everything.
Perfect for politics.
Perfect for politics. Yes, yes. And I remember he told me a story when he was in kindergarten. The teacher said, "Okay, you ran out of the color red," and he said, "Well," he painted it orange. And he said, the teacher said, "That's not red." He said, "Well, that's your imagination. To me, it is red."
Oh, so the debater was came before he learned it in school.
Exactly.
What is something about Sylvester Turner that you think the majority of people don't know?
Well, the thing I think they don't know how compassionate he was, how loving he was, how funny he was. He could tell you some jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've witnessed that.
Yeah.
And how serious he was about the community. Always about community. Even when he was a little boy, it was always about helping someone, and that's how he grew up.
Yeah, and that explains
yes.
why he left, law to go into public service.
Exactly.
And he says that his basis for a great work ethic was looking at his mom, especially after his father, your uncle, had passed away. And he saw his mom, she's like, "I got to get a job. I got to get the family through," because 9 kids, right?
Right.
And she became a maid at the Rice Hotel.
Yes.
And he said he just gained so much respect for her work ethic. That, of course, carried him through as well.
His dad also. His dad had the same kind of work ethic. Yeah. And that, that's what he emulated.
Freddie, I know you're waiting to go inside to pay your respects to your cousin. I wonder what your thoughts and emotions are this morning about Sylvester.
Oh, I have so many mixed emotions. He and I were very, very close. Very, very close. Any event he had in the city, I was there. And he would always stop and say, That's my first cousin over there.
When he decided to pick up the mantle and run for Congress, did you all have a conversation about that? Because the conversation that we had, and I said, not thinking, I went, "You sure you want to do that? That's a whole lot of work." But this man was all about a whole lot of work.
He was all about a whole lot of work. But we didn't personally have a dialogue about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew in his heart, he was about the community. If he could help, no matter what, he was going to do this. And his mantra was, "To God be the glory."
He said that
for
often.
the things he has done.
He said that at the end of many speeches.
Yes, and he believed that in his heart. That God was with him, and he knew that was his mission.
Linda and I were joking earlier that we think he had the ability to be in more than one place at a time.
Right.
He always was working. Even when he was going through his cancer treatments, he would go down and get his treatments and then show up in the office, and his employees were like, why don't you just go home? Why are you here? Go home. And he wouldn't. He just kept on going. I mentioned the story earlier of Miss Ruby saying to him, "As long as you have gas in your tank, drive your car."
Right.
He was always going to drive that car,
Of course.
Freddie Chapelwright, we thank you for stopping by. Our condolences to the family for the loss of your cousin, a great statesman and a proud son of Houston.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you for to talk about my cousin.
Yeah.
Because I loved him so.
Oh, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you coming by.
Certainly. Thank you.
Freddie Chapelwright, the mayor's first cousin. As you heard her mention, Sylvester Turner was, she got to get her purse.
Yeah, got to get her purse. All right, get back in line.
Thank you.
Right? Yeah, her mother and Sylvester Turner's mother were sisters.
I think there were a lot of cousins because there were 9 children, 8 siblings.
And the families before had several children as well. All right, let's go to Ugochi, who is on another side of City Hall right now speaking to people. Ugochi?
Hey, Deborah and Len. Yeah, we're on the other side at the end of the line where it's really grown here from where we were closer to the beginning and the front there of the line in front of City Hall. If you can see, just want to give you a live look at this line here. If you take a look, our photojournalist Mo will point to you here. You can see just how many more people have showed up within the last 20 minutes. And we also want to talk to some of those people. First person we're going to talk to is James Briscoe. He's been in the line here for a little bit now. James, can you tell us a little bit about why you came out here today to wait in this line? You didn't have to spend the morning here, but I guess it was important enough for you to be here for Turner. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. Mayor Turner had Congressman Turner had immense impact. He always showed up when we needed him to, and he was always there. Personally, for me, I can remember being a young professional, and I was speaking at an event, and he walked up on me and he said, "Young man, you're going to be special." And then I ran across him later on in life once he became mayor, and he didn't forget that conversation, and he saw me leading a session, and he said, "See, young man, I told you, you're going to be special." And you could just see from the pictures that flood social media his impact. I mean, everybody has a picture or a Mayor Turner story. So again, his impact will supersede his legacy. And I'm showing up because he always showed up.
That's a great way to put it. Now, what did you think of the Mayor Whitmire's remarks about Congressman Turner? He hit the points about him always making everyone feel included, how he would get along with anyone he could to help our community. Can you share what you thought about his speech, and do you think he nailed it?
I think he nailed it. I mean, again, Mayor Whitmire, he's a great human being. He's a great man, and he's honoring Turner, which is another great human being and a great man.
What's your biggest message to people who didn't know much about Turner and his life and his legacy? Anything you could share to really educate folks about all he has done for our city?
Thrive on purpose, get up every day, put your shoes on, get out there and make a difference. In his words, if you can dream it, you can do it.
That's a big message, especially to kids who may be looking for a role model, looking for to look to leaders who are doing a lot for the city. Now, when you first got the news that he was taken from us, everyone was shocked. He was just working in Washington. What was your initial reaction?
I was lost for words. I knew about his health conditions. I got to see it firsthand. I got to see him maybe 3 or 4 weeks before he passed. But I mean, it's devastating. It's a tremendous loss for the city. I'm saddened that we won't get to see his completion of his Congress term, and I know he was going to do some great things for this district, great things for this state, and some great things for this country. I pray that someone steps in and picks up the baton and continues out his legacy.
And when you think about, too, his district, they've taken 2 big hits in less than a year or so. I mean, it's just a tough loss for that district and really the city. But thank you so much, James. We appreciate you for sharing. Guys, I wanted to give you one last look at this line. I'm going to swoop away here. I just want to show you what we're looking at here. There's just so many people here this morning ready to pay their respects to Congressman Turner. And we wanted to give you one last look at what we're seeing right here. So many people who are ready to say goodbye, essentially, as they're waiting to get inside Houston City Hall's rotunda, say their farewell to Congressman Turner. Reporting live outside of Houston City Hall, Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News. We'll send it back to you, Len and Deborah.
Look up. How you doing, buddy?
Well, actually, we're going to send it over to Jason Miles. He's actually in the back of the Houston City Hall rotunda, where he's talking to some people coming out after they've already paid their respects to Congressman Turner.
Hey there, Ugochi. Yeah, the first folks getting access to the rotunda, if you will, were current city council members, some former council members. I've seen some former department heads, a former fire chief and others, the police chief as well. And joining me now is former council member at large, Jack Christie. And Jack, what do you think about today's turnout, and just a few thoughts about Mayor Turner?
Well, Mayor Turner probably scheduled a beautiful day like today. Mayor Whitmire gave some beautiful words from a colleague, but my memories are his humor, and I have a picture with President George W. Bush and the mayor bent over laughing because of humor. And we got through a lot of things, maybe that we disagreed, but humor was there, and he did a good job. You know, people don't know that he saved this city from bankruptcy. In the negotiations of pensions, it would have bankrupted the city, but he worked across the line and solved it. He's personally responsible for bringing the World Petroleum Conference here. He needed one more vote in Bahrain, got it, and brought the biggest oil conference in the world here. And also, he took a $20 billion lawsuit, federal government, EPA, against this city, went to the White House during the Obama administration, personally took that from $20 billion down to $2 billion for infrastructure over 10 years.
And you would have been on the council during Harvey, correct me if I'm wrong,
Absolutely.
So you saw the recovery and his leadership during that period as well.
Yes, yes. My pride during Harvey is we couldn't meet here, it was flooded. So we were over at the GRB, and this city needed a lot of help, federal, state, local. I was able to get Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee and Senator Ted Cruz to hug. And that's one of my highlights in life because they were going to help the city of Houston together.
And we're talking about working across the aisle. Obviously, city council positions are nonpartisan.
Correct.
But you kind of know where people stand, and you're a conservative.
Right.
But you and Mayor Turner were able to compromise.
That's right. In 8 years, he was only mad at me twice. Once I was forcing his hand on cutting the budget. He was mad at me 2 days. And the other time I endorsed somebody that he didn't want me to endorse, but he would forgive quickly. 2 days later, he hugs me in front of the TV cameras and said how good of a job. He was for the citizens of this city. He didn't see color, he saw need. And we got to go back to helping our neighbors, but not overspending. We've got to be a little conservative on that. And then look after the health care of the citizens of this city.
You've been in Houston a long time. Are you a native?
Grew up in Texas City, but I was here at age 17.
How would you rank him as far as political leaders in Houston?
You know, we've had some good leaders. We really have. And some are good business people, and some are great for security and such. overall, I would give him at least an A- plus in running this city. Nobody's perfect. And, you know, you can be criticized for a water bill or something. Nobody's perfect. An A- in this day and time, there's not many A- in Washington, D.C.
Former Councilman Jack Christie, I appreciate you taking time to speak with us.
You bet, Jason.
It's a thankless job, as you know, in many ways.
Every day of it.
All right. Thank you, former Councilman Jack Christie, many other former city leaders here as well, and I believe Lynn and Deborah are with the former police chief Troy Fenner. Guys.
Yes, we are. Jason, thank you very much. As we, once again, are standing right outside City Hall in front of the reflecting pond. Behind us, people are lined up. The line has gotten longer for people to go in to pay their respects to Sylvester Turner.
Yeah.
You make the introduction
Yeah,
here.
well, you know, we heard people say how passionate Mayor Sylvester Turner was about criminal justice. And joining us now is the former police chief, Troy Fenner. You were appointed police chief under Sylvester Turner. Do you remember the first time you met him?
You know, it's probably about 30 years ago, and I don't remember exactly where, but I do remember his spirit. And when you met that guy, and this is true for anybody, and this is the best quality he had, he made you feel like you were important. He made you feel like he cared, and that carried on when he was a state senator, the mayor, and finally a congressperson, and it was a calling.
Yeah.
And I thought about it over the last few days, and you say, well, my God, he gave so much. That's what he wanted to do. That's what he was here for, and I just pray and ask Houston to wrap their arms around his family, his beautiful daughter, his son-in-law, and his two precious grandkids.
Yeah.
But what a great man. And you said criminal justice, you brought that up, and public safety. Sometimes recent history, things get a little clouded for whatever reason. I want to say this, as his chief, he was the smartest mayor on crime, smart on crime and tough on crime. And I want the truth to be told on that, and that's his legacy. And also, he had this ability, this keen ability to attract people and bring people together during crisis. And that's what leaders do. It's real easy and people can talk, but when a crisis hit, whatever that crisis is, who are you? That man stood up time and time again, and I'm so grateful to God that I crossed his path. All of the conversations we had, 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m., he cared about people.
Yeah.
And every individual in this city, every block, every community, rich, poor, black, white, Asian, whatever, he cared about everybody. And that's what I'm going to take with me. I love him, and I'm going to really miss him. Houston will miss him. And I want to thank him for showing up today. All walks of life. All walks of life.
Yeah.
So,
you mentioned, you know, dealing with a crisis and taking what is already a crisis and not making it worse. I'm going to go back to during the time of George Floyd, when we saw riots across the country. Houston behaved a little differently. That was not by accident.
No, and it started with him. Great leadership, but great relationships over the years. And this is what everyone needs to understand. It just wasn't great police work and great leadership. It was those community relationships that had been formed and developed and maintained over years. And that's who he was. They say he was the mayor, the people's mayor. That's who Sylvester Turner was.
He was like, it won't be a riot,
yes,
it'll be a rally.
And look, it's so funny. And when I think of him, and when I have an opportunity to smile and laugh just thinking about him, he was so serious on a lot of things, and he took control when he needed to, and he chewed some butt sometimes. But right afterwards, he'll bust out with this laugh, and that's a great quality. Serious times, you still have to bring humor to the room, and he did it time and time again.
I know you were on the Houston Police Force for 34 years.
34 years.
So late in your career, he decides to pick you as police chief. What did he say to you? Why did he choose you?
He said, you know what, out front and with the community, but he had watched me through my entire career, and definitely as executive assistant chief. And so it was between myself and Matt Slinkard, who was a good guy as well. But he said, Troy, we need community. We gotta build community. We need leadership. and we got to drive the crime down. And that was a really proud moment in my life and for my family. And I just want to thank him for giving me that opportunity. And I'll never forget it.
Yeah,
I'm always indebted to him.
A native Houstonian giving another native Houstonian a shot. A Madison High grad, I should point out.
Yes.
I remember moving here in 1998 and talking to then or former Mayor Bob Lanier at the time. And he said one of his biggest concerns is that people of quality will no longer want to run for office because of the arrows they take, the criticism they take. And you know, you've been in that line of sight, but also Mayor Turner has been in that line of sight. Did y'all have conversations about that? What kept you going?
Many conversations, and Deborah, you're so right. When you're in public office and you're the head of an agency or the head of a city, you're gonna get arrows. And my father and Mayor always said the same thing. If people are not talking about you, and they're not throwing spears at you and rocks at you, you're not doing anything. So it's part of the job. Now, is it easy when it's happening? No.
No.
Everybody have their own pride. But you know, when you know yourself, and more importantly, when you know God, and if you knew Sylvester Turner, you know he loved God, and he put God first. When you do that, you treat people right, you do your job, you hold other people accountable, you're gonna be just fine. I think about star athletes, because I'm a sports guy. The greatest athletes, the greatest team players, they got around people and they made them better. In whatever situation, whatever hand was dealt to him, that was Sylvester Turner. He made everybody better around him.
And definitely a man of faith. I remember the last lunch we had, he was about an hour late, and he said, I'm sorry, church went over on that Sunday. I'm like, well, if you're going to be late with God, that's all right. Yeah.
He was going to be in church on Sunday.
I know,
he was.
Chief, I know, talking to Sylvester in the few weeks before he left office, I said, what's your advice for the next mayor? He said, you can't please everybody.
Can't.
And if you try and please everybody, you won't please anybody. And that speaks to the slings and arrows that you can take. And I said, well, why? He said, I would run for a third term if I could. I said, why? I said, you take all the blame and some of the credit. And you know what he said? He said, that's life.
That's life.
He said, that's the way it is, and that's part of the job.
And Lynn, you know, was one of the most impressive things, and many things that impressed me, but you never seen him or heard him point a finger. He always took responsibility, and he said, hey, this is the hand that we're dealt. Let's take it. Let's just do the best that we can with it. Let's make decisions that are going to help most of the citizens in Houston, and that's how we did it.
Lessons that all of us can live by. Chief Fenner, thank you
so much
for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's go now to Jason Miles, who is with Amanda Edwards.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Good seeing
Hey there, guys. We're on the opposite side of City Hall as you are on the Bagby Street side. Amanda Edwards served the city of Houston at-large council position for 4 years. In fact, you coincided with Mayor Turner's first term. What is your reflection this morning?
You know, Mayor Turner, I think, is the embodiment of someone who absolutely loved people. He loved this community, and it's of no surprise that he served this community literally till his last day. And he loved people, he loved to inspire people, he loved to excite people with what was possible in our community. And so it was a pleasure and a wonderful opportunity to serve alongside him.
Any personal reflections? You know, everybody talks about how he liked to dance at street parties and things like that.
You can't even compete with him when it comes to that line dancing, so don't even start. I mean, he loved to be out in the community. His laugh was infectious. He was someone who knew how to bring humor to any situation, whether you were in the most difficult circumstances or not. He was someone who loved life, he loved people, and he had a really wonderful way of bringing people from opposite sides together. I remember we worked diligently and he led the way on pension reform, and there were different sides, and he brought every single person together because he wanted them to believe that we could bring a solution forward that we could all buy into.
And if we go back over the last year and a half or so, former Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee ran for Houston mayor. You decided to run for her seat in Congress. So you opposed her. That didn't work out for her. You guys ended up in the same race for Congress. And you're at the top of the list. When you talk to political consultants, experts, observers, now in this now open seat, unfortunately, thanks to the death of Congressman Turner. I know it's a delicate time and you want to give some time to breathe and get past this part. But what would you say to constituents out there in the city and the folks of Congressional District 18 right now?
Well, I think right now is the time to celebrate the life and legacy of Representative, Mayor, and of course Congressman Turner. He has walked in such a passionate walk of service, and I think it's time for us at this moment to focus our attention there. And then of course, as time moves on, the conversation can change. But right now, I think we just want to celebrate his life and legacy.
Safe to say you are considering another run?
At this time, I want to celebrate his life and legacy, so focusing the attention on his work.
I was in Acres Homes last week talking to folks who've been represented by Mayor Turner in various capacities over the years, saying they hope somebody is as strong-willed and committed to every niche of the community, not only in Congressional District 18, but beyond. What kind of leadership are you looking for?
I think we're going to have to continue to put people first. Just as a general matter, we're in very trying times. And, when we think about honoring the legacy of Representative, Mayor, and then, of course, Congressman Turner, it's about people and their rights and making sure that we fight for them. And it's also about inspiring change. And so I think that's the focus when we are mourning the loss of someone like, who's had this kind of legacy. As we mourn this loss, we also want to make sure that we carry the work forward and also continue forward in a way that inspires other people.
Amanda Edwards, former council person, possible congressional candidate once again. Thanks for taking time to speak with us. I'm going to toss it back to my colleague, Agochi Aloka, on the other side of City Hall, speaking with folks in line to pay their respects. Agochi?
Hey, Jason. Yeah, we're tag teaming this morning, right? You're in the back end talking to people as they come out after paying their respects to Congressman Turner, and I'm here in the front end talking to people in the line who are waiting to pay their respects. You can see the line is kind of clearing out here now compared to about 30 minutes ago when you first saw us here in front of City Hall. They have opened it up. I want to show you something real quick. If you look this way, our photojournalist Mo will show you, people are actually signing. They're signing something as they walk in, almost to pay their respects, sign their name to show they were here today to pay their respects to Congressman Turner. So that's a live look of that happening now. We weren't able to show you that earlier, but we're here with Kenneth Morris, who was kindly enough stepped outside of the line to talk to us here briefly because the line is moving. Kenneth, you were waiting in line just not too long ago, and you'll get back in here in just a sec, to pay your respects to Congressman Turner. Can you talk to us about why it was important that you were here today?
Well, thank you again for the opportunity. Congressman Turner, I've been knowing him for about 10 years now, over a decade, and people in the city know me from teaching young people about aviation, and he was one of my biggest advocates and supporters, and anything I needed to spread the word, he was always there. So great gentleman, fine leader, and somebody I always looked up to.
Yeah. So it was important for you to come here today to say goodbye. Why?
Absolutely. I was actually in Florida yesterday, so I stopped everything I was doing to make sure I was here because, again, these are opportunities we don't get a chance to have every day, and I would probably regret the opportunity to see him one final time. But again, just to thank him for everything. A lot of people, he was a people's person, and there was never a time I didn't see him smiling or hugging and just really being someone, an advocate for everyone. Yeah. So I appreciated that.
You know, Kenneth, you mentioned that you basically came back early from your trip to do this. That is huge. That's the kind of impact that Congressman Turner had on so many people like yourself here in Houston. For people who don't know much about his legacy, what do you want to share about it that you know in that 10 years that you knew him?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things, he's always proud of where he come from, Acres Home. You know, anybody that knows him, he's all about Acres Home. And I come from a similar background. So just seeing someone, and I've seen so many young people who look up to him as well that may one day be mayor. So he gives us hope. He gives us something to aspire to, and he gives us something that's just not typical in major cities. You know, we're the 4th largest city in the country, and to have a African American mayor and congressman, it just sets the sky's more than the limit, you know, for me. So I'm extremely proud of him, honored to be here, and I'm grateful for this opportunity.
I see what you did there. You're in aviation. Sky's not the limit. Yeah. So some people were getting emotional earlier, which was rightfully so. But then I also seen a lot of laughs. I heard people sharing like memories of the mayor, whether he was dancing or telling a joke. Do you think that's what it's about today and really the rest of the week? These different events are about just remembering him, right, and the good times.
Absolutely. So I think people will get emotional today. It's an emotional day, and I think we just have to allow them that time to grieve and understand that, you know, people grieve in different ways. And for many of us, it's going to be a great memory. And for any of those who may not have had a favorable memory of him, they can always say that he was positive. He was always smiling. He was always welcoming and doing his best for everyone. So he was a very giving and selfless person, and that's what I'll remember him as.
Yeah, and I'm sure the rest of Houston, those who knew him, will remember for that too. Thank you so much, Kenneth, and we hope that you're able to pay your respects in peace. So have a great day. Thanks again. Yeah. So we're going to send it over to Deb and Lynn, who are with Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, which happens to be Congressman Turner's fraternity. And so they're there with the brothers now. Lynn and Deb, what do they have to say?
All right, well, thank you very much, Agochi. You know, a lot of people were asked to wear blue today because it is Sylvester Turner's favorite color. But yes, you're right, Agochi. These guys showed up in black and gold, and that is for a reason. That is APIA's colors, and as she mentioned, also the fraternity of Mayor Sylvester Turner.
So introduce yourself, because there's three of you. Ronald, I know, but introduce yourselves and then talk about today and what it means for you.
I'm Isaac Carrier.
My name is Byron King.
You know, Brother Turner was such a just huge figure to us. For me personally, I've known him since I was in my early 20s, and he was just a huge influence on my
In what way?
So I'm an educator, and he just had this way of encouraging me, and I've seen him do it with so many other people, especially my brothers. It's just hard to put into words just how much he meant to us and certainly to myself.
And your thoughts as you, did you do the public go in and
Yes.
observe today already?
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Oh, it was hard, but a beautiful expression with so many people that came to show their respects.
When someone has such a great impact on people, you can almost say they're not gone, because a piece of him lives on in all of us. In everybody's story, a piece of him lives on. What will always live on with you?
I think you can look at a Sylvester Turner and you look at the fruit that he bared. He was a huge tree. And there are those of us who he helped, whether it was in education, those of us who went on to hold public office. He was always a great supporter, and I think that's what you look at what he has imparted in you, and you continue on with his legacy. And I think that you will see a lot of people who will continue to uphold what Sylvester stood for, and you'll see the impact that he made.
Yeah, I think people should remember before you give the mic up. This is Ron Green. Okay, so you have history politically because you were on city council and then city controller the first year that Turner was in office as mayor.
I actually went out when Sylvester was coming in, but Sylvester Turner was a former law professor of mine, so I've known him since my late teens, and so I have gotten the wisdom that he's imparted. You know, I can say that I'm a political protege. He has helped me. He's helped me and many other young politicians, and when we were younger, I'll put it that way. he's helped many of us who have gone on to do, some great work, and I think that we've been impactful because of him.
Talk about the fraternity bond.
Absolutely. This is an organization that is built on a base of brotherhood and education. And so when you look at someone like a Sylvester Turner, who was not just a political figure, he was a brother. You could call on him and say, Sylvester, I need this. Or what can we do to help you become better at what you do? And when you have a group of brothers, and we often say that we have brothers in every city, and Sylvester Turner was a brother's brother. He was one who would always help us. He was one that was there when you need him. And all you had to do was just say, Sly, we need you.
Sly.
Yeah. Well, some of us knew Sly.
Sly. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. And you talk about that brotherhood, and that brotherhood is so strong because it's not necessarily that you went to either the same school or you went through at the same time. It's just the fact that you are AFIA that bonded you together. You work for the city of Houston. So what was your interaction with the mayor?
My interaction was basically whenever he needed something, because I work in the permitting section, but whenever he needed me or there was a question, he would always call and say, hey, I got this problem, can you handle it? And as a brother, it was whenever he saw us, or all of us, it was, how you doing? You know, just down to earth, straightforward, and whatever you needed.
Yeah. What lessons were you left with from him?
Take it slow, take a deep breath, and just make it happen.
Yeah.
Don't wait on, someone else to do it for you. Go out there and make it happen.
Take it slow, take a deep breath, especially when you're working in the permitting office.
Yeah, and also I want to ask, Ron, I'll come back to you. Sylvester passed away 1 week ago. I had texted him the night before, had spoken to him on the phone 2 weeks prior. Really came as a shock. Your thoughts when you learned?
Very shocking, because I had just seen him Friday before he passed, and we talked, and very much in good spirits. And that's something about Sylvester. We used to always say he was the Energizer Bunny. Yeah. And when you look at somebody, he and Sheila were cut, Sheila Jackson Lee were cut from the same ilk. They were, where they got that energy, I do not know. But he was at the rodeo, going from tent to tent. We talked about how in fact, I said, you need to slow down a little bit. And he, because we were all concerned about it.
Yes.
We always were. And I mean, that's no big secret. Everybody was concerned about it. But at the end of the day, he pushed to the very end. And it's ironic that he was in D.C. He was doing what he was called to do.
Yeah, I think it was in his blood.
Absolutely.
To keep going.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And to your point, it's like all of us are going to leave this earth one day. I think a lot of us could only hope that we leave it doing something we love.
Absolutely. Sylvester said something very, he always had these one-liners, but I think what I today think about mostly is he says, there's no need to park your car if you've still got gas in the tank.
We all
said that.
Miss Ruby.
He has a lot of those. I mean, as a trial lawyer, he was great. He was my trial simulation professor. But you know things that resonate with people. But when you look at someone like Sylvester, and we saw this, and with our very own eyes, that he used every bit of the gas that was in that tank.
Yeah. Friends and members of Sylvester Turner's fraternity, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you
for taking the time to be with us today.
I think that Sylvester would wanted, we were talking about him dancing all the time.
Yeah.
I think he would have wanted to see a step show.
Oh.
You see their faces? They're all like, no,
I have one thing to say. That would be for the youngsters. We are all in our 50s.
I bet he can still outdo y'all on the floor.
He absolutely.
He regularly outdo me.
Regularly outdo.
Our knees have not been properly.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for sharing your story.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate it.
All right, let's go now to Jason Miles, who is on another part of the building.
Deborah, take care.
Thank you.
Hey there, guys. We're on the Bagby Street side of City Hall. People go pay their respects inside the rotunda and then exit on this side of the building. And joining me now live is Linda Toyota, a former president of the Asia Chamber of Commerce.
Correct.
And you were the first in line this morning.
It was really a surprise. I expected so many people to be here, and because Sylvester Turner always showed up at every event for everybody, I just wanted to also show respect for him too.
You told me you got in line at 7 o'clock this morning, you and a few other brave souls, because it was a little chilly this morning.
But it was still comfortable. It's great weather to be out here to pay respect and honor somebody who was really the people's person.
Tell me about your personal reflections and how you first met and worked together.
Just being in the community, he was always an advocate, whether it's the Asian Chamber, through the rodeo, through other nonprofit organizations. Really just wanted to come out and hear from other people and help each other.
How did he work with you in your neck of the woods, so to speak?
Well, when you advocate, when he was a state representative, he would always meet with us. I'm a rodeo volunteer. He would always be in the rodeo parade, which is the last time I saw him, a few days before he passed away. And so he was on the wagon, I was right behind him, so we had a chance to talk.
Given you saw him just a few days beforehand, he was at the presidential address to Congress hours before passing. Was it somewhat of a surprise? I mean, we knew he had been battling with a rather serious illness.
Right, but he was so alive. I mean, even a couple of weeks before that, he was at the Rodeo Black Heritage Gala, dancing away like he would, and just really reaching out to people. And so, life is precious, and I think that's what we're learning. Make each moment count.
Tell me about walking through the rotunda. How does it work? There's just a single file line?
It's a single file line. There's no cell phone, no video. It was really emotional to see his picture when he's so lively and then see the coffin with the flag draped over it. I mean, that's why they were handing out Kleenex, because you didn't realize that you were going to start crying. I mean, it was that emotional because he was such a lively, authentic person.
That's what we hear from a lot of people, and I knew him personally, obviously covering him over the last almost decade or so. How would you describe him to someone who had never met him?
Approachable, relatable, caring. And he was just easy to talk to. Regardless if we agreed or disagreed, he was really open to that and very helpful.
Ms. Linda Toyota, I appreciate you talking to us, and I guess you can go home and take a nap.
Great, thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you, Linda. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Jason. All right, I'm with Janice Weaver, who has known Sylvester Turner for many, many years, and you said I worked for him for free, right? But he was the kind of person you wouldn't mind working for free for.
Yes, during his legislative days, you know, he was growing what we have now. It's like the family day in the park, you know, which is 17 years this year,
Yes.
as a matter of fact. And we are praying to keep that going, you know. But then was employed as a employee on his executive team with the city of Houston for the 8 years that we were here, you know, and we just did some remarkable things.
Yeah, remarkable things for the city that he loved. When did you first meet him? Well before then.
Yeah, so as I was telling you, my husband grew up with him.
Uh-oh.
4 houses down from each other.
In the fofo.
In the fofo, and I've been married over
Say it right, fofo.
40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, that's what I'm saying. As the legislature, and you know, wanting to, and he always wanted to bring things to the community.
Right.
Always wanted to bring things. To
Which
the
is why
community.
things like parks were so important, community centers, all of those things were just as important as many other issues.
And so that's where the free work came in, you know, to be able to, you know, bring the things to the community. You know, our family day in the park has just been, you know, we used to do movies in the park with Comcast, you know, invite families out. And so he was so family oriented. That's all he talked about was family, 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 you know. And so being here at the city of Houston, but then of course, you know, we came in with the tax day flood, Memorial Day flood.
Name it.
Harvey. You know, all those
pandemic.
things. Yes, winter freeze, and then him being driven. You know, someone asked me the other day, how would I describe him in one word? Driven.
Yeah.
Because he always wanted to make sure that we could do what we could do, and then working with the Houston Area Urban League in the community.
Yeah, he had a passion like no other I've ever met. And I've met lots of elected officials and people in public service, and he was a model for how it's done. And he had people like Janice that were just so bought in to what he was trying to accomplish that made it easy to work for him, although it was difficult. Because he was very demanding, had high expectations, because he was serving the city and a state and a country that he loved. Yeah. And so that's just the kind of guy he was. When we had the Urban League Conference come to Houston in 23, I mean, they pulled out the red carpet for us in a fashion unlike, you know, you just did not expect. Same thing true when the AKAs came to town and other D9 and other organizations. Alpha Phi Alpha, I think, also, and others. So, I mean, it was just, he made you feel like you were one of his. Absolutely. And it was just a unique person to be in the midst of, because he was a difference maker.
We've talked to a lot of people this morning, Deb and I. Everybody seems to be on the same page when it comes to Sylvester Turner.
Yeah.
I want to say thank you to the two of you.
Oh.
Because let me tell you, you know, y'all set the platform for him, but of course, you know, just calling you on a moment's notice to say, can you be there?
Yeah, but you know, Lynn and I both knew him, you know, as on a personal level as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And first we met him on the professional level, but what would shine through is how everybody has said today, how he treated you when he saw you. You felt like you were old family members. I was like, I had to do my family DNA and went, wait, are we related? because he always made you feel that way, but he also felt that way.
Yes, he did.
You know, and he saw a friend. If you were going to work with him for the betterment of the community, he saw in you a friend.
Yeah, it doesn't always happen as a journalist, but sometimes be a public figure will give you a certain amount of access and a certain amount of trust, and I had that with Sylvester, and I appreciated the access.
Yeah, well, he loved you guys, you know, and he appreciated, you know, even though you were helping to get his story out or to tell his story right, because he was always about, you know, tell my story right now if you're going to tell it. You know,
and tell both sides
tell
of it.
both sides, and you know, be fair about it. And so that was one thing, you know, for him.
People will get their chance to pay their respects today through 7 p.m. tonight, and then it continues on to the state.
everyone for
Yes.
coming out.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you for all you've done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Janice.
Thank you. Yeah, so.
Thank you,
so
dear.
much.
Good to
Yes,
see
sir.
you.
Again, we'll be here till 7 p.m.
Here till 7 p.m., let's lay out what is going to happen for the rest of the week as it relates to Sylvester Turner. Today till 7, as Deborah mentioned, here at City Hall, lying in state. Then on Thursday, Sylvester Turner's body will be taken to the state capitol in Austin, where he will lie in honor in the House of Representatives from noon Thursday until noon on Friday. And then he comes back to Houston for his final resting place, a funeral at the Church Without Walls. I believe it's on the northwest side, and that will take place at 1 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. It is scheduled to last from 1 until 2:30, and then the funeral, the burial itself, will be private with family only.
You know, you heard how humor was very important with Sylvester Turner, so I'm going to end with this. I have no doubt that soon after he passed, he found Sheila Jackson Lee up there in heaven, and they have already scheduled a meeting with God, and they got an outline of how things should go.
Yeah, I hear
but,
you.
you know, it's just that if somehow in my mind, that would not be far from the truth. But we want to thank everyone for joining us today, and Lynn and I both feel blessed to have this opportunity to say goodbye to one of Houston's favorite sons as well.
We thank you for joining us on KHU11 Plus streaming today. The coverage of Mayor Sylvester Turner on behalf of KHU11 and Deborah and myself. We'll see you again at noon. We'll have more updates right here from City Hall. Have a good day.
because Patrick